talking to you today. Going to talk to you about camping stoves. When I first started camping, or hiking rather, I started using like a little pocket rocket like this, and they work pretty well, and I still use this little stove sometimes. But there's a lot of things that can go wrong with this thing, especially when you're really relying on it. You know, sometimes when we hike, we'll go through sections of trail that's 10 or 15 miles long, and there's nowhere to resupply, there's nowhere really to catch a ride. You're just on your own, and if you're in one of those sections and one of these little valves right here go bad, or an O-ring goes bad, or maybe you unplug your stove from your canister here. I don't know if you can see that hole there, but when you screw this together, there's a little stem that goes in this valve here. It opens your can up. When you pull this back out, this valve's supposed to seal. If you get some grit in there, it won't seal and your gas will leak out, and you won't realize it until you go to use your stove again. And you know, when you're really having to rely on a stove, there's a lot of things with these little stoves that can go wrong. And I don't use this stove a lot if I'm going to do serious hiking. I use it if I'm just going to be a couple of miles from the truck. But if I'm really going to be doing a 3, 4, 5, 6 day hiking trip, I use this stove here. This was introduced to me by a 67-year-old friend of mine that I go to church with. He's hiked the Appalachian Trail, and he has helped me tremendously when it comes to hiking equipment. This stove that I'm going to show you here is a stove. It's called the cat stove. You can Google it. There's all kind of designs for it, and it's basically an alcohol stove. There's so many advantages to this little stove here. One of the biggest advantages is its price. It's free. You build it out of 2 cat food cans. That's how it gets its name, the cat stove. There's one can fits inside the other. You punch some holes for ventilation. You put some house type insulation here to catch your alcohol when you pour it in. You have a little piece of string to keep your insulation from falling out, and that's pretty much it. This is a very effective stove. Like I say, it's free, it's effective, and every year as we do the Boy Scouts, you know, we have the Scouts build a couple of these, and this is what we carry because the boys can afford it. And not only that, I know very accomplished hikers that this is all they use, and this is all I use when I'm hiking. But to use this stove, you just simply find a flat spot, put it down. I have a pot holder here that I made out of some dog kennel that I was not using anymore. It's 2x4 wire. I just simply cut it and made me a little pot holder. Sits right over that. I took a piece of aluminum pan, just these little disposable pans you buy, and cut the bottom out of it. And I just kind of pinch it together when I get to where I'm going to make me a little bit of a windbreak, just like that right there. I take a 35mm film canister. That's what I carry. It just happens to be the perfect size. And I take this denatured alcohol here, and this is important. You have to use denatured alcohol. You can't use Coleman fuel or gas or anything like that. You'll blow yourself up. You have to use denatured alcohol. In a pinch, if you can't find denatured alcohol, you can use rubbing alcohol, although the rubbing alcohol will really blacken your pot up a lot more than denatured alcohol. So I always like using denatured alcohol. But anyway, you fill your film canister up here, which is about 1 ounce or a little better of fuel. You pour it inside your stove. Your insulation absorbs it. You light it off. You put your pot of water on there, and in about 2.5 minutes, your water, 2 cups of water, will be boiling. And that's all you need if you are just simply cooking a Mountain House meal, or if you're just cooking ramen noodles, or, you know, instant potatoes, or something like that, where all you need some boiling water. There's no valves to go bad. There's no O-rings to go bad. The stove is basically indestructible. With these little type canisters, I've always had trouble trying to figure out how much fuel I had left. And I always wind up having to carry an extra canister with me. That don't happen with this. I'll take denatured alcohol, I'll pour it into a Gatorade bottle, and I'll mark it fuel, and I can measure it out exactly if I want to get exact. Of course, I usually just fill it up, and it can double as a fire starter if you need it. And a bottle of Gatorade will cook a lot of Mountain House meals. But I know exactly how much fuel I have left. If I want to get really safe about it, I'll use the real small Gatorade bottles and have 2 small bottles in case I spill one. I still have another. But this is a very dependable stove. Like I say, it's very reasonably priced. It's free. You can just build it out of stuff you can find laying around. It's a very effective stove. And you know, I keep this in my pack. And like I say, bugging out is about number 27th down on my list. I mean, it's right before death. I mean, I don't plan on bugging out, but I do hike a lot, and I'm used to doing that kind of thing. And this little stove here is hard to beat. And when you get ready to pack it up, you know, while you're eating, it'll cool down. I took the bottom of the pan and just conformed it to kind of fit my pot. So when I get finished, I wash my, I just let this dry out. I put this in here to protect the inside of my pot. And then all this right here, the windbreak and all just fits right down in there. My little film canister fits right down in there. Of course, I keep a Bic lighter to light everything. It fits right down in there. And this wind thing right here, it just goes right up. And usually I can put it right in the top of it, of my pot, and that fits on there like that. And that's my entire cooking setup right there. You know, I got my stove, I got my lighter, I've got everything I need. Pop a couple of rubber bands around to keep it shut. Put it in a little bag I got for it, and you're ready to go. And that's one of the best little cooking outfits that you can have. Like I say, it's not only cheap, it's dependable and effective. And like I say, you can Google that. It's called a cat stove or an alcohol stove. And there's numerous numbers of plans for this out there on the website. And I challenge you, if you have a bug out bag or if you hike, try this out. You'll be amazed at how well it works. Alright guys, hope that helps. Talk to you later. Hey guys, on one more note, I know we was talking about these little cat stoves just boiling 2 cups of water. There's actually another stove similar to this you could make if you're wanting to scramble eggs or going on a short trip where you're wanting to cook bacon or cook a hamburger patty or something. And all you do is take a can that's about the same size as what your cat stove is. Just save up some dryer lint and get you some paraffin wax or like Cannon wax. And what you do is put your wax in a bowl and then have you a pot of water on the stove boiling. Put your bowl kind of on top of the pot and have your wax in the bowl. Melt your wax. Pack as much lint as you can get in a can. Of course, you won't cut the can. You'll just use a can regular. You won't cut any holes in it or anything like this. You just use a regular can. Just make sure it's about this size. That way it'll work on your pot holder, and you know, everything else will be fine. But just stuff as much lint as you can get in it. Pour the hot wax over it. Pack it down. Put more lint in. Pour more hot wax. And just keep doing that until you get it full. And then just simply let it set overnight. It'll harden up. Then when you get ready to use the stove, you just take a knife and just kind of gouge in to the top. Kind of let it, you know, stick up in a few places. That kind of serves as a wick. And then you light it. The whole top of the stove, the wax and the lint will light up. It won't be a tall flame, but it'll burn for, man, I don't know, probably a can this size would probably burn for, I don't know, probably 4 to 5 hours. So it's a little messier. And, you know, when you do that, you got to keep in mind the wax on top will get liquefied again. So it's not something that you can do fast. You know, you're not going to stop and cook a meal and be gone in 20 minutes like you can with the alcohol stove. That's more along the lines if you're going to be set for a while. But, you know, just, you know, you can make a stove that you can cook a little while on. You just got to do a little different, a little bit heavier, and it's a little messier. But we also use those, like I say, if we want to